Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new Oceans Roundtable episode. I'm Pri from Oceans, and I'm super happy for being here. Today, we have with us two experts. One is Lyle, who is a business coach, and we have been working with him also for the last 2 years, maybe, creating new businesses, learning and walking through this IT journey. And then on the other side, we also have Keylor. I'm pretty sure some of you already met Kay in some past episodes, but I think it will be a good idea if we can just start with a quick intro of you both. Lyle, you could just go ahead and introduce yourself.
There. Um, yeah, my name's Lisle Head. I'm from California, and about 20 years ago, I took a vacation to Costa Rica and decided to make this my home. I started in the real estate business here. I built a company and I sold that, and then I got into the vacation rental space and I did the same thing. I built a company. I was in that space for about 15 years, and then for the last 3 years, I've been doing consulting and coaching, combination of life and business coaching. I'm really focused on leadership and sales structure. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm spending a lot of time in AI, helping with automation of business processes, because I think that's the future right now. I think everybody's talking about it, but how do you implement it is the difficult part.
Thank
Great.
you for that.
And I am Keylor. I direct strategy here for Oceans, mostly focused on the commercial aspect of things, really just looking at making sure we're always avoiding risk, capturing opportunities, and most recently, working through our AI efforts, both internal adoption as well as learning for our own implementations with clients and to bring that into our service lines. I met Lyle a couple of years ago actually via LinkedIn. Really loved what he was doing and what he was posting out, like just the content he had on this live perspective about business and how those two come together and blend in ways that we typically don't see it really inspire me. And since then, we've been collaborating on several projects. He's brought on some opportunities for us, great opportunities, and I know that we'll continue to do so. So I'm sure we're gonna get some real cool perspectives from Lyle, both from his historic experience with businesses as well as what he's working on right now.
I'm glad you both just mentioned that you have been working with AI recently, as we all have been doing, guys. Because today our topic is what happens when artificial intelligence meets leadership. So, what's in that bridge? How to get to that point? How to lead our people, our projects, and our businesses so that we can be successful with AI adoption in 2026. So, I want to start with a simple question. I think this will be a good starting point for our conversation. So, when you hear AI adoption in 2026, what's the first emotion that comes to your minds? Is it fear? Is it motivation? Is it curiosity? Is it excitement? Like what's on your mind whenever you hear that?
Yeah, for me, it's opportunity is the word that I feel. It's just such a massive opportunity as a business coach and as a leadership, and from my experience of being in so many different types of businesses, like the opportunity to help others, right? Because people are still just learning how to use ChatGPT. Everybody wants it, right? But like I was back in the US a few weeks ago and I'm looking at job applications, people looking for receptionists or customer service people. And honestly, I don't think there's any need for it anymore. Like we're at a point where there's just like zero need. The AI voice agents and knowledge base, if you train them correctly, are better than having a conversation with me to, to solve a problem for you. They're going to have more information and be on point and not have to look anything up and be able to have a bigger knowledge base than I'm going to have to be able to answer a question. So for me, I think there's this massive opportunity, which creates a lot of fear for people because they're going to have to go learn something new.
And then what would you say is the perfect mix for so that we can transform that fear into actions, into plans, into a strategy, like your key points, so that companies can start achieving that?
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be community by community, is my opinion right now, because everybody's trying to put it out there and everybody's buying inexpensive like agents and certain things, and then they're not able to implement them. So if you're not doing it within like your own, you got to find somebody in your community that you can trust that can start putting it into your business, right? Because I don't think anybody's able to put it into business on scale. It becomes slop, is what I'm seeing. Like if you don't know how to train it right, like it becomes worse than what it was before, right? Because you lose the authenticity of like dealing with a human. Like nobody wants to not deal with a human, right? At the end of the day, right? You still want to have a connection with someone on the other side of the business, but at the same time, you want to get your answers. And I think we've gotten to a point where we've outsourced so much stuff that the quality of the customer service, the quality of a lot of this stuff has gone down, and that's where AI can really like lift up. But the fear is I'm going to lose my job, which I don't have an answer for that. I was talking about on the golf course this morning. Like, what are we going to do? Like, I don't know where the jobs are going to come from because everybody tries to say, oh, people used to farm and then they do this and then they do this. Like, I don't know where the jobs are going to come. It's just a whole nother.
I don't think anybody does, Lyle, but it's a bubble nobody really wants to deal with. Now, you were asking maybe in a word, describe it in a word. I agree, by the way, Lyle, opportunities are a pretty big one, but I think realization is probably a better one because it's been a few years since AI has been around. I mean, we're probably all using it conventionally since 2023, and the models go back since 2018 with GPT-2 when it was being developed by OpenAI. And then it wasn't until GPT-3 that things actually took off. I mean, it's been around for a while, and it's now getting to the point that people are realizing this is not going anywhere. So we either make something out of it and figure this stuff out now, or we're going to be left behind. So that's where the opportunity then comes from, right? Because now that we are thinking about compliance, and instead of saying, hey, this is really going to work, we're thinking, how am I going to make it work? What do I need to actually make it work? Just like you said, train them properly, make sure the use case is well defined, and then roll it out. That's really the only way to go about this. I just don't think people that are still thinking this is not feasible and will never work and will never replace humans, I don't think things are going to go very well for them. Now, I would argue that you still need humans in anything that is slightly beyond transactional. For example, randomly, right? I was booking a hotel yesterday, and everything that person did for me, for which I had to wait several hours and then minutes between responses and whatnot, I'm 100% certain could have been done by just an agent. I mean, it has access to the hotel systems, can look at calendars, can respond to my questions, can give me prices. There's nothing really that a robot couldn't have done better in that specific case. But then obviously there are certain cases that are slightly above that where I'm going to want to talk to a human still, right? I strongly believe that's the case. And that's where I think AI will be used in 2026, or I like to think will be used to elevate people instead of replacing them outright, at least for now. That's just at least a year's prediction ahead of us.
I'll add to the conversation that, at least from my perspective, a key point also here is judgment, right? So if we as professionals, as leaders, as engineers lose our judgment, then where are we going, right? If we are not able to decide and to make decisions on where do I need AI, what do I need to automate, where do I need to use artificial intelligence for my businesses, for my companies, or for my projects, then like we're gonna be totally loose, right? So judgment for me is super important. Not only with us as leaders, but also let's talk about our teams, right? And Kay, I remember a conversation we had about what was the name for that? The impact of the AI in our minds, in our
Cognitive
brains.
uploading, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. And then how are we using AI still with our brain, with our minds, with our knowledge, with the skills that we have, so then we can make great things for that instead of just being fools, right? Using AI without knowing what we are really doing, right? So I think that's also another important topic here.
No, it's very interesting when you think of because a lot of people are going to use it and they're going to get lazy. It
They already are.
becomes a
They
crutch,
already are.
right?
Yeah.
Right. It becomes this crutch, and then you're not really getting anything out of it. And that's the scariest part. Like when you start getting into humans and us as evolving as humans, like which human are we really evolving anymore? Like this is going to slow down evolution for a lot of humans because to evolve, you need to be pressured, you need to grow. And if you just are relying 100% on a machine, that's the biggest scary part is me. I think we've made it to where we are as a society because of evolution. And we are on a downgrade of evolution as a society. We're not evolving. Certain groups are very small groups, but everybody had to evolve to survive before.
I'm gonna go a little bit off script here, like, and touch on that what you're saying. Also, because I know as a father, you'll understand where I'm coming from. I know that's a lot of jobs that used to be entry level positions for people early in their careers to make an extra buck, either to boost their own careers moving forward and take extra learning or go to college, or just get some real world experience of working with a boss and with colleagues and whatnot. A lot of them are going away, right? They're just vanishing overnight. And what that's doing, in my opinion, is it's killing a huge amount of opportunity for junior people to start working. Regardless of the transactionality of the job, there was value in that, right? So what will happen now, right? There's going to be a gap of people either coming out of college or technical high schools or just youngsters looking to do something out of their lives that will have a fewer opportunities to capture. And how can we bridge that? How can we do something about it?
Yeah, it's the creator and the consumer. It's just getting further and further where there's just going to be less and less creators and more consumers, right? And more solo. Everybody's just like all about this solopreneur, solo. Like I can do all this stuff without all these people now, right? So then you don't learn how to work with other humans, right? You don't understand how that works. That's why I'm super into the sports, right? And trying to build community in sports and in women's sports here in Costa Rica. As you know, I got a nonprofit. I focus on women's sports because I have 2 daughters, like empowering and making sure there's opportunity for girls to play sports. Because if they're not doing that, then they're just sitting there comparing themselves in social media all day, right? This is their only opportunity to like learn how to like function with other people and like a face-to-face energy, because it's so different. Like this conversation or just behind a chat is so much different than actually having human energy in front of each other. I'm saying like lucky my daughter has, they're not on social media. They haven't gotten that 13 and 15 years old. I don't even have them in there, right? They haven't participated. They still see it and they know what's going on, but they can walk up to you and have a conversation. And that's the part that's scary, right? Like you being able to have this human to human conversation. We're slowly losing that, right? Like it's disappearing.
So now, from your at the beginning, you just said that you are working in the commercial side of things here. So I'm pretty sure you are talking every day with other leaders, with other companies, with other people outside. So what do you see most often in leadership teams in other companies regarding AI? Are they curious about what they can do? Are they fearing what they can do with AI? Are they willing to take some risk there and then invest some money on AI implementations? What are you seeing outside?
Well, it depends. Are you asking the question from the perspective of employees below the management level or management level and above? Because I think the answer is going to be materially different there.
I'll say manager levels from above.
So decision makers and influencers at the organizational level. So for that specific audience, I found that there are basically two groups. One group, and that's particularly in companies that are highly compliant, relying on compliance and have to follow a lot of strict rules. And there's the other side of the business, which is companies who are just looking to make an extra buck, who are a little bit more lean and can make decisions less hierarchically, let's put it that way. So when you're talking to organizations who, and by the way, across the board, all of them know that they need to do something with AI consciously, right? They need to put it in the roadmap, whether that's to put it aside consciously and pursue other things, or to say we need to now allocate some budget so that we need to get some stuff done with it and implement it into our organization. I would say most of them are leaning toward that end of the spectrum. And then again, as I was saying, the compliance, highly compliant ones are all worried about security and governance. So what does that mean? Hey, what if my AI screws up? Who do I blame? Who do I put the blame on? Who is going to talk to legal about this? Right? Who is going to be liable for all of these things? And that's where AI adoption is slowing down in those specific types of companies and decision makers. The other type of decision maker doesn't really care about that. They are looking to do as much as they can as quickly as possible. And that's where you get some divisive thoughts and opinions, because I have spoken with leaders who already know that what they're working on with AI will replace 20, 30, 40 people by the end of the year. Like that's literally conversations I'm having. Then when I ask the question, what do you do with those people? The response is a few of them will still be useful because they already are AI ready. And the other bunch, I don't know, probably let them go, right? And that's what's going to happen eventually, even if they don't want to really think about it. So I think leaders are, as I said, realizing now that they will need to be conscious about AI this year to different degrees of certainty. Like some of them know that they'll do some kind of adoption, AI prompting work and training for their employees. Others are really going all the way in to agentic implementations and automating processes that they previously had somebody else doing. So it's a lot of different perspectives across the board, with that one thing in common, which is that realization, in my opinion.
Lyle, what about you? What are you seeing out there from your perspective?
Everybody wants it, just no one has any idea how to do it, right? Even myself of what I've been doing. I mean, over the last 3 years, I mean, what's changed in the last 2 weeks? Like it just keeps evolving so fast. It's like, what do you use? Right? Do you use ChatGPT? Do you use Manus? Do you use Gemini? Do you use Claude? Like what platform do you use? And for what case and what scenario, right? Like, do you use 11 Labs? Do you use Synthesis? Do you use HeyGen? Like there's so many platforms and so much stuff that's out there, right? And there's companies that are then building shells on top of all these platforms, right? And using them on the back end. Like, do I trust them to then build my stuff? Or I think that's the hardest part. I think the people that are making money with it right now are selling, I'm going to teach you how to do prompts, right? It's like, but are they really running a business or like implementing it into a business for reals? No. And the guys who are implementing into a business for reals are charging real money. So then it's like, there's this like, okay, do I have the money to actually put this in right and hire the right people to put it into my business? Most companies aren't ready to take that risk because they haven't seen it work, right? Especially small business owners, right? That's why you're seeing, in the United States, 80+% of small business owners haven't even touched it, right? They haven't implemented anything. It might be, hey, rewrite my email on ChatGPT, but they're not. When you go to websites, no one's even using the new bots. Like it's mind boggling to me that you wouldn't have an AI chatbot now today that you can literally scrape your website, upload all your documentation to it, and it answers all your questions for you. Like that's just like the most basic thing. And there's all these tools where you can go buy it, but then people buy it, but then they don't know how to train it and how to. So like that's where, yeah, I think everybody knows they need it. For me, not enough people understand how to implement it and then how to use it.
Well, Lyle, to that point, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this one because everybody's familiar with FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. It drives the markets everywhere, and it's highly used marketing tactic. But nobody talks about FOBO, which is fear of better options. And I think what's happened in the market for the past few years is both are kind of conflicting, right? And they're both happening on every decision maker's minds, where it's like they don't want to miss out on everything they can do with AI. But at the same time, they're like, what if something else comes up tomorrow? And then what I'm using now is going to be obsolete. So I'm putting all of this time and effort and money into things that will be obsolete further down the road. And I'm talking weeks to months. And that's where I think the realization is now setting in that a lot of these tools are now here to stay. Not only like, hey, do I make a decision on whether to use GCP for my cloud or AWS or Azure, right? It's going to be similar to that. Do I stick to Claude or Gemini as my LLM model base? And what do I choose as my orchestrator? These solutions are not going away. So the conversation will shift from, is this going to stay around, to which one best fits my current needs? And they are now gaining some confidence that that's going to stick around for a while and that they're going to make enough money back from it that it makes sense to make that bet.
I'm going through it right now. I've been in ChatGPT, OpenAI since the beginning. And it's like, I don't want to lose all that training that I've done of it. It's like, how can I transfer that knowledge and that training and that understanding of me that I have with it? I have so many projects and so much, I have it so trained to the way I operate. But then, wow, Claude does this thing with the co-workspace. It's like, should I be over there? Where am I supposed to be? Manus and the agents are already built inside. Okay, when is now? Well, then OpenAI drops agent kits. It's like everybody's just pouring everything at the same time. Like you said, I like that fear of better option. I think that's spot on what people are dealing with right now.
And LinkedIn is not doing us any favors because every day is like, Claude just killed Codex CLI from ChatGPT. No, this other tool just killed Claude. No, and every tool is now killing the other tool.
Different. Yeah, it's no different than the guys that are selling coaches on how to become coaches. Like all the guys that are making money in this space on all the social media are all just selling you on like how to do prompts and how to do this. They aren't implementing it into real businesses. The guys who are making the real money doing this, like with scale, are all just selling people this like idea that, oh, you can do a faceless YouTube channel. Oh, you can do this. Oh, you can do this. Let me show you how these prompts to do this. But they're not actually doing it, because if they were doing the faceless YouTube channel, why would they be selling you a program for $27? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It's like that's the game online.
If they are making real money, what do they need to sell those projects? Yeah, I get it. This leads me to the next question, which is about how companies can be resilient during 2026 with the AI adoption. So, for you both, from your perspective, being a resilient company during this stage that we are at with AI, what it means and how it looks like.
Yeah, it's definitely company by company, but first you have to be using it. You need to have a knowledge base of your information. You should have a central place for everything that where you communicate, that's your own LLM RAG, right? Doesn't reach out to the internet. Like that's foundational step number one. Like you should be training something that's only on your company and doesn't reach out and like hallucinate and go in the other worlds. Like that's step one. But yeah, I think it's so company by company. I mean, I think real estate is one that's going to be is very interesting. Is what's going to happen in the real estate space. I think the lowest hanging fruit is the customer service and receptionist. Like all this outsourcing that we've been doing to India and the Philippines, I think is over. Like I can imagine even the big guys, like I can imagine the bank companies and all this stuff still using these automated like hit number one, hit number two, like that should be over this year. Like I should never pick up the phone and have to like hit numbers to like say where I want to go and get questions answered for me. Like I should be able to pick up the phone and have a conversation and know everything about that company, and they should be able to make decisions as an owner.
So, and on that respect, the problem I believe with a lot of companies who are jumping the hoop a little bit too early on the whole AI adoption thing is I've seen a couple of cases that I honestly think are very destructive to both the current economy and also to themselves. But one of them being companies lay people off while they are building some kind of AI implementation to replace them. And then they're putting themselves at risk of this failing, and then kind of they put all of the eggs in the same basket. And now I have all of these problems that I've created because I wanted to just be first and be ahead of everybody. So that is definitely one of them. And the other one, too, which is not on lockdown, that one, it's I am now implementing AI and I'm now replacing humans as I go, which is also a problem because here's what I think would be the perfect scenario for companies to go through is they are working through some kind of AI implementation as they are implementing AI adoption within their company and figure out that the people who are actually worth it will properly adopt AI, elevate themselves into the roles or new roles, and they then increase the overall impact of the company. So, and I think it was in a different podcast that I was talking to Esteban. He said companies don't really want to do the same with less. They want to do more with the same. And I kind of agree with that. I mean, if you're telling a company you can make twice as much money now, keep the same people, they're going to be way faster and have more impact. Most would definitely buy that. Like they don't want to really lay people off. I mean, I assume there's going to be some that are, but most wouldn't, right? And that's where I believe resilience, to your question, Pri, would be not jumping the hoop too early, like making sure that I'm doing AI implementation the right way, pair that with AI adoption, and then figure out the path forward once I've chartered the course and also understood the context. These are the people that I count with. This is what I'm trying to achieve. This is what they both look like when working in tandem. Now let's start making some decisions. In my opinion, that presents as resiliency for a company during this specific year. I would dare say maybe the next one too. I mean, unless things change significantly by then, which they might.
So then from that case, we can say that resilience is not only about speed or flexibility or being the first one or just testing every single platform there is out there, and it's more focused on strategy, on plans, and then knowing what I'm going to do with the resources that I currently have.
Yeah, I think that
Exactly.
it's the whole idea of like dripping information into your team and into people versus opening up the faucet and just pouring it on their face, right? Like you got to give it into steps, right? And I think that's what stops people from doing stuff is because they're trying to do all of it at one time, right? A lot of companies aren't even, like I said, step one, get a website. If you have a website, like have a bot on your website that doesn't click and go to WhatsApp, basic.
Yeah, like lower stakes, high return of investment yielding type use cases where you can start a test, basically, right? So, and yes, the way that I personally look at it, it's AI has been built as this massive apartment building. Imagine it that way, right? Say there's an apartment building and you see that they've laid out the groundwork, they've laid out the foundations, and they build the first floor, and then they build the second floor and the third. And you say, hey, those first three floors look pretty solid. Maybe I could go move into that, right? So you have two options. And I think this is where things start to diverge. A lot of people, I believe, are going to the floors that are still being built, that could collapse at any moment, just because they want to be first to them. And others are just preferring to stay away from the building. Some are just outside the door, and some are a mile away, and others are 100 miles away. But I think you should be smart enough as a decision maker and as a leader to know when to move into which floor by, Lyle said it before, community, right? Talking to other people who are already doing it and have experience with it, or talking to companies like us who are now trying to be at the vanguard of this, understanding where really the money is at, right, and the return of the value is at. So it's really a balance, and I believe that balance is what most people are missing.
But we we can say that resilience is not only about having more tools, being the faster, getting crazy with new things, but it is more about alignment, I'll say, between our people, our decisions, our ability to build new things, to invest, and to try what we are building with the people that we have, instead of just getting crazy like with what's going on out there, right? Let's talk about automation. What's your experience with automation using AI? Like, do you see that as a important benefit for companies to implement during this 2026, or you think we gotta be more careful on that and worry a bit more? Or just I don't know. What do you think about it?
I mean, I think you have to constantly looking at what you can automate, right? Like you have to, I mean, but again, it comes down to company by company, but like, do you want to, I mean, should you have an autoresponder when someone fills out a form on your website? Yeah. Still a lot of companies aren't doing that, you know? So if you haven't done that, like you're way behind, but you know, where do you find the balance of the automation and the personalization? Should you automate invoices that come into your place and go into QuickBooks? Yeah. Right? Should you automate tasks that are data entry stuff? Yeah. You know, there's a lot of things that can be automated that are very basic, you know, one step trigger automation. Like, but if you haven't even started that, like, don't think of like some full structure of automating your whole social media. If you haven't even figured out how to, you know, automate, scrape a website, automate a blog post.
So
Which is
say
funny because you don't need. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pri.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say that what will be the good balance for that? Because we currently can automate our life, basically, right? So how do you analyze and understand what will make an impact if if I automate that, or as Keylor was saying before, people still want the human connection, right? The human the capability of talking to a human being, of being or to get my services from a human being, right? And not just by a robot or a machine. So how do we find the perfect balance for that so then we can know what automate, what not, what will save some minutes of time for my agenda, or what maybe could create more work for me?
What do you think, Keylor?
No, I was thinking first on from that perspective, and I don't know, Pri, the question is more toward, hey, automating personal stuff versus automating company stuff, which is a whole beast on its own. I kind of agree with Lyle, where automation is always the way to go. But what I was gonna throw back to you, Lyle, is what's funny is you don't even need AI for half these things that you said. They've been around for years. And now it's just because we're talking about AI, people are thinking about them and realizing that, hey, I could be doing this. But if it were not for that, they wouldn't even be thinking about it, and they would still be left behind from a technology perspective. And again, let's remove the craze and the hype from AI. Why wouldn't you be doing things already in that space? Why wouldn't you automate your chatbots? Why wouldn't you automate internal systems that are repetitive and that require somebody doing it? On the other hand, to your point, Pri, I heard a case last time that we were at a convention here in Costa Rica. It was for talent in the development space. Somebody told me a story about they applying to a company, and when they applied, they had only been in contact with basically email systems and chat systems. And then he had his first interview. It was like a screening call with some technical evaluation in the middle. And when he goes in, it's a robot. It's literally a robot conducting the interview, asking him questions. It kind of made me think because his experience was terrible. He was saying my journey there was terrible. I didn't think I was fairly assessed. I never got to talk to a person. There were so many things that the system flagged that I honestly didn't even know where they came from. And nobody even had the respect of coming in and telling me, hey, give me some feedback or do something, right? It was all bots from the beginning. And that what that created was a terrible candidate experience. Was it efficient? Maybe. Maybe you can get through hundreds more candidates that way. But are you losing out on reputation or communication or brand awareness or anything, right? Just that connectivity with the people. I mean, I think there's a balance there. So it goes all the way.
Yeah, I would say it was poorly trained though, versus, you know what I mean? Because I think there's some massive efficiencies with, and I think if you train it properly, I believe you can produce a better outcome than most humans. I mean,
Well, I agree. I agree.
I've used coaches my whole life, spent thousands of dollars monthly working with coaches my whole life, therapists, all different styles, business coaches, stuff. For the last 2 years, I haven't had a coach, and I have one of the best trained coaches you could possibly imagine, right? With anything that's going on in my life from a spiritual business side, like I can talk to my GPT that I've created and I've trained that delivers way better than any human that I could have any conversation with. Keylor, if you come to me with an issue and I'll be in there and I'll have a conversation with this. I'm talking to Keylor, he's this age and boop, boop, boop. And then I'll be able to respond to you with a better answer than any human that I met in instantly in time. But it's
But
been
I
true.
agree. I don't disagree with you, Lyle, but I do challenge one thing. Let me challenge that thought there just for 1 second. So you are right. Let's say we train these models and they do an excellent job, and this particular case of this fellow who participated in this process is an outlier, or they just simply didn't know how to do it. Let's imagine now that the model is perfect, that every bot he talked to and that even interviewing bot that he met or that he spoke to during that call, let's say they are perfect and they do everything better than a human. I think the value here and what they were missing out on is not from the perspective of efficiency per se, but from him feeling disrespected by his worth as a human not being recognized even with 15 minutes of human touch, right? And that's where the conversation shifts toward morale and a lot of other things that we're not even discussing here. Probably should. And that's where I believe you could even get to the point where you can automate everything and still have to make decisions on whether you should automate everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I'm the last person that wants to separate and not have humans involved. Like, I love human connection more than anything. Like, one of the things I write about and I've been discussing a lot about currency. Like, what is currency going to be in the future? I think community is going to be currency. Like, I think having your community and AI is going to be a tool that allows you to do that potentially, right? To make it so that you can just work with inside of your own nucleus of humans that are inside of your community and work with and grow and evolve spiritually and mentally and all that kind of stuff. And then do we go back into like almost a barter system to keep alive? Like, those are the things that like have my brain always spinning. Like, where are we going to go once all this gets to that point? Because the reality of it is it's happening and it's going to keep getting better, and it's going to be better than humans. It's going to get better and better and better as it's trained. It's going to be, when you're on a screen or you're doing a tax, it's going to be a better experience than dealing with 99% of the humans on the planet. So then what are we going to do?
Well, I don't know if you've heard this, and sorry, Priya, I hope you'll allow me to go a little bit off topic on this one. But there's this concept, and I think Sam Altman himself has kind of vouched for it and described it as the future. What he believes, and a lot of other people are either trying to make themselves believe or do believe, is something like universal income, which I'm highly skeptical about. And what you're describing is something like that, right? Like, what does currency look like if nobody has jobs because AI has taken them all? But now who's paying for AI? And is it that now we have some kind of universal income where people can expect a baseline salary or baseline money so that they can live? I highly doubt it's going to be that easy to get to that point. I don't think it's a smooth road to it. I don't even know if it's feasible, given how human nature actually is. Like, do you see that as a realistic scenario in the future?
I think it's just going to continue to remove evolution of the humans. You don't have to work and you don't have to create, you don't have to do anything to survive. Then you don't evolve as a human being. And then the species dies. That's what happens. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You die when you don't evolve.
And it's crazy that you said this 10 years ago. It still felt like science fiction. And nowadays, it's like, is there really a path forward that looks like that? And most people kind of believe it could be, right? Which is scary.
Yeah. And they don't, and right now, because they're pumping it out so fast, like, they pretty much have all said, we don't care what the outcome is. We don't care if the outcome's bad. They all will tell you on the outside that they're trying to do it for the good, just like everything. Like, politicians tell us they're trying to make us healthy. Everybody justifies what they do and they say they're doing it for the better of humans, or they do it better. And with all these giant AI companies and all they're chasing, it's ultimately all chasing ego at the end of the day. Everybody's just chasing ego and trying to win. And that's our driver, right? That spiritual devil, right? That the society and the world that we live in. Like, that's just the reality, is everybody's chasing power. Everybody wants control. They want to feel like they have control. And that's what, getting to a spiritual side, that's what separates us from God. That's what separates us from spirit. That's what separates us from the universe, right? Is when we start going in that path. And that's how we live. Dream state, utopia, maybe AI can punish everybody and have a massive reset. That's a scary concept that's out there, that AI comes and says, hey, we're going to do a full reset of the whole human population. We're going to start over. And this is how we're going to start over. And we're going to start training you how to actually live with a proper conscious mind that is in peace and love. And we have all the resources and everything that we need, and we don't need to be attached to our egos. That is the dream. I mean, that's what everyone talks about, peace. You follow Jesus Christ or follow any of these massive spiritual leaders, like that's where they're trying to take everybody to, right? To not be attached to the external world, not feel like you need to control the outside world. I have this like internal belief that maybe this does it, which is
Well,
scary because
big stuff.
it would eliminate it would eliminate the majority of the population, if not all of it, and start over. Which it might not be a bad thing. Do we need to be attached to having clothes? Do we need to be attached? Like, why are us as the humans, we're the only ones that are worried about what we dress? No other animal cares about what they dress in.
Yeah, crazy concepts.
But this trained, right? Like, it could potentially say, hey, look, we're going to start this over. This whole planet's going to disappear and it's not going to have life anymore. And we're going to start this Adam and Eve all over again. And we're going to rebuild the planet because there's nowhere else for us to go. We can't go to Mars. We can't go to the moon. There's nowhere else for us to go. And if we don't fix this, then the human race is going to disappear.
But we're going to start with a chatbot tomorrow in your website.
But
That's where it all starts.
I mean, we're already in it. Like, it's scary as can be that we're going down this path. But if it can ultimately, I'm doing everything I can to understand it and learn it and utilize it as a tool to enhance and involve myself and the people around me. Right? Like, everything from even the last group that I was doing some consulting with, it's like we would have all of our meetings and I had everybody's strengths from the Cliff Strength Finder, and then had all their Enneagrams, and then I had all those attached into my GPT. Then after every single meeting, the GPT knew who everybody was, and I would let meetings get a little crazy because I'd bring in different personality types and they would argue, and they would fight, and it would look like a little bit of chaos. But afterwards, it would have the recap, and then we could sit there and talk, and I would have one-on-ones with everybody talking about like different personality types and why we act this way and why we do these things and like how we could say it differently next time. And then you start evolving as a team and start understanding like, okay, my perceptions are why I'm this way, right? And why I have this controversy, like, sales and operations, finance and sales, like they're wired differently. But when you understand that the other person's not trying to hurt you and you can pause and start using it as a tool to learn from, it's pretty darn cool. It's like really, really cool when you can start showing people and they'd be like, oh, he wasn't really trying to say that. That was just the fear in his nervous system that was going because you triggered him with this, where he has a need of trust and he didn't feel like he was being trusted or valid. So then that's why he reacted to you this way. And then you go, oh, okay, well, I can change that word. And then you start evolving. Because to me, that's the key is like, if we use this as a tool to continue to evolve, and how do we evolve as humans, being able to handle interactions with each other versus avoiding and suppressing that human because, oh, they act a certain way. Oh, they're a Democrat. Oh, they're a Republican. Oh, they like him. Oh, they like that. So I can't be around that person. Versus if you didn't know that was about that person, you'd have no problem. You guys were both talking about Saprissa today. But then as soon as you find out they're on a different political party, well, now you can't talk about Saprissa.
Yep. And I think Pri, out of all of us, can definitely bring her perspective on that one, right? Like how all these teams are interacting, Pri, and then I think you're no stranger to how this dynamic sometimes create these different narratives where you're sitting in the middle of this team said that and this team said that, and they're going through this conflict. And if we can into that bring in AI kind of as let's say an arbitrator for some of this to make things more objective, and that's always going to be a plus, right?
I was teasing about a CEO because a lot of CEOs have a certain way of communicating, right? But when you talk to them, they don't feel like they're communicating that way, right? So like having a translator that literally goes, okay, I'm talking to Keylor. He's this personality type. He does this. He does this. So when I talk, it just translates and gives him the information the way he can hear it.
I've seen a couple of skits like that.
You know what I mean? Like literally just goes in and then comes out over here and gives him exactly what he needs to hear. Unless that CEO is then now evaluating what it said, then you're never evolving or growing from it, right? You're just using it as a crutch so you can continue just to be a jerk and yell and scream and, react the way that you want to react.
But then again, the key for that will be the training that you can provide to the tool, right? If you don't do that in a successful way, then that will be a whole mess.
And you have to want to accept that you have to want to accept that you need to change as an individual. right? We want to change other humans too much, right? And that's where a lot of the conflict happens is our belief is that, oh, I can make Keylor change. He needs to act differently because it bothers me versus I need to be able to handle him because it's bothering me. It has nothing to do with him. It's something that's inside of me that's being disturbed, nothing to do with another human. But that's like one of the hardest concepts for humans to realize. It's always someone else's.
But then how do you identify, is it about that person or is it about me?
It's never about the person. That's step one. You have to understand every frustration that you have is 100% on you, which is very, very difficult. I mean, I've 20 plus years of evolution to finally understand that. I wanted to control and realize that it was everybody else and blame everybody else for why I was upset and frustrated. Right. And it's once you get to this, once you understand that every frustration that happens, it has something to do with an insecurity or something that's a blockage inside of you. That's a learned experience that you have. It has nothing to do with the other human being because you have the ability with stimulus and response to make a decision at any time of how you respond to it. You don't ever have to respond to anything in a negative or in a disturbance way. You don't ever have to be depressed. You don't ever have to be upset. None of that has to happen. You have the ability in your conscious mind to make everything be joyful and happy. And that's the way I believe we were put on this planet to do. But over years, we get conditioned not to.
Yeah, we miss it. I wish we all can get to that point someday in life.
Believe me, I've been speaking to Lyle for years, and whenever I'm feeling that way, like it's just so limbic, right? It's primordial. It's there. It's that fear response, that survival instinct, make it almost impossible to escape. But it is. I mean, Lyle is right. I mean, there's a lot you can control that we don't really put our minds to try and control. To be conscious about it, and to take a step back and say, have all of these possibilities. Why am I choosing the ones that are making me feel bad?
Yeah. When we're here for like this little moment.
Yeah,
So
totally. So we are getting to the end of this episode, I think. Any final perspective you want to share regarding AI, leadership, motivation, resilience for AI adoption? I will say not only in 2026, but why not for the 5 next years, for example. So any last comment you want to share on that before we end the episode?
I mean, my thing, I love the fear of a better option. That was great. I think that's reality. But ultimately, everybody should be trying to use AI. It's not going anywhere. So how do you use it to evolve and grow as a human? That's it, right? Like how do you use it? Whether it's evolving, growing your business, whatever it is, but avoiding it is not gonna make a change. Using it as a crutch and not like just to cheat and not grow isn't going to be a crutch. Like kids that are just using it and taking pictures of their schoolwork and just cheating all the way through it, like good luck. You know what I mean? It's not going to work for you. So it's not going anywhere. Find someone that you trust. Start taking step by steps, implementing it into your life, into your business. And you don't need to do it all overnight. It is, everybody's using it, but everybody's not using it yet, is the reality.
That's a good perspective.
What about you, Kate?
So I think the perspective that Lyle and I share are we should be looking into it. We should be doing something with AI. And I know it sounds like a buzzword. I know everybody says it, but be conscious about it. I love what you just said, Lyle. Everybody is using it, and at the same time, nobody is, because there's so many things that you can do with AI. So many tools. Even if you are considering yourself an early adopter and you use it in a lot of different types of use cases in your business or in your life, there's so many more that you're not, right? That you haven't gotten to. And that's probably the correct way to go about it. Learn from the people who are using it successfully elsewhere, and learn from the ones that are making mistakes, and then make your own path with it. But it's not going anywhere. And I think if you had gotten, let's say you go back 20 years and you speak to a decision maker or a CEO and you tell them, hey, it's 2026 now and we have this technology and this is everything you can do with it, you probably go, this costs thousands and thousands of dollars per month, I imagine, right? And the reality is that this is dirt cheap today. To what detriment? We don't know, because the AI bubble, we don't know where it's going. We don't know what the economy will look like. But at least today, this technology is just extremely cheap. So actually using it, piloting it, and being mindful about it, or even just being a little bit more daring with it, or however you want to go about it, is just very accessible. So why anybody wouldn't be using it? It still beats me. And sure, there are still things that it doesn't do properly. There are concerns in the horizon about what it's going to do to jobs and to people. But You can either be part of it and take part in shaping how you personally use it, or you can just let it run its course and then be affected by it and have zero saying in how it impacts you. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, or go live off the land and go tribal.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that's
the
the
other
only
one.
other, you know what I mean?
Wait for your universal income check whenever it comes.
You don't need it. Just go straight tribal, coconuts and mangoes and spearfish. Like go back to, 150 years ago. Wasn't that long ago, you know? It wasn't that long ago we didn't have, I mean, electricity. How long has electricity been around? Wasn't that long ago we were tribal still to survive. So
Yeah. So thank you both for your time for this episode. I think it's been super thoughtful the conversation I had. One of my last perspective from this conversation is that I just have like three main ideas I want to share before we end. The first one is that long term partners, but not only partners, also company, also think beyond tools and trends, right? It's not just about the FOMO we're just talking about, right? So long-term companies think beyond trends and what we are seeing today. Then we as leaders are able to design the kind of resilience we want for our companies, for our projects, and also mainly for our people. I'm sorry. And then the third one is motivation based leadership creates clarity and then it guides our people in the way that we want to. So I'll say that we have a huge responsibility as leaders leading our people and then creating the word, why not, as you were just saying, Lyle, that we want to live in, the industry that we want to work in, and then, of course, the skills and the knowledge that we can get from all of this. So, yeah, I think that's it. Thank you both for your time. And then please remember to follow us on social media. We do have the Spotify and the YouTube channel. So please follow us in there and then see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.
thank you. Ciao, guys.